Good morning, students. Welcome to online class. Hope you are keeping well by the grace of God. So guys, today once again I am with you, and today I am going to teach you social science, the history segments, and chapter number 3, the making of a global world. So guys, we have come in the concluding part of the chapter. So today I will wind up the chapter. So in my previous lecture I discussed about what were the conditions during World War, that means the First World War and the post First World War. The intense downfall of world economy, the Allied power and the Axis power, the World War fought between England, France and Russia, and the opposition group, it was during that time, First World War, it was Germany, Austria and Turkey. And between First World War and between Second World War, 20 years of time. So with the passage of time, the European countries, including the USA, they could manage themselves economically and politically. But after 20 years, that means after 2 decades, once again a World War-like situation occurred, and it was visible. And why it was visible? That is only for the colonialism or the common practice during that time, imperialism and colonialism. After First World War or during the First World War, many people from the European countries, they migrated to US, they migrated to Africa, they migrated to Latin America, that means South America, and they settled down there. And they established themselves and they started ruling those states or countries, and they became the imperial states, and those states or countries became colony. So 2 decades already have been passed. This colonialism, with the growth of this practice, once again World War-like situation occurred during this time, and Second World War started again because of the economic competition, because of the annexation, because of the invasion, because of the overpowering, because of the ruling the states, capture the countries overseas. So during that time, India, post World War, that means First World War, India had to face an intense economic crisis. India means British India, colonial India. So I already discussed in my previous teaching, in my previous lecture, I told you that farmers, peasants, they were forced for the plantation of opium, jute, indigo. They were forced because the British, they used to supply the raw materials overseas by ship, and after manufacturing those materials, once again the manufacturing goods, they used to sell it here in the higher cost. But later on, what had happened, that when an economic competition, it took place all over the world, there was competition. So what happened, the British, they had to sell the manufacturing goods in low cost. As a result, the artisans or the small scale businessmen, they were in intense loss. They had to face an intense economic loss. because the cost of those products were quite cheap, because British, they had to sell those products in cheaper rate. And if people, they will find anything, any products in whether those are household commodities or whether other commodities, they will get, or they can get it in cheaper rate, why they will go for the Indian or domestic products? So that is why once again India had to face an economic crisis. So after that, they started thinking that rebuilding a world once again. So with the passage of time, rebuilding means the economic building, the political building. So entire world, the countries who were involved in First World War, they started rebuilding or reconstruction. So the Second World War resulted, meanwhile, 1939 to 1945. Second World War took place. As consequence, just now I told you, the colonialism, the annexation, the invasion, the capture, overpowering, grabbing money, and overall, one word, it always comes out, that is greed. Greed of power, greed of wealth, and economic development. So as consequence, Second World War took place between two groups, that is Allied power or Allied group. It was England, France and Soviet Russia. And Axis power, guys, you open your notebook, you note down. Allied group, ALLIED, Allied group, England, France and Soviet Russia. That time it was called Soviet Russia. And Axis power, AXIS, Axis power / group, it was Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany under the leadership of Adolf Hitler. Nazi Germany, Japan and Italy. First World War, it was Germany, Austria and Turkey. But Second World War took place between Nazi Germany, Japan and Italy. And the consequence or the impact of Second World War, it was more fatal than First World War. A huge destruction, devastation took place. 60 million people died, whether they were in battlefield or due to starvation, or some people, they were working in the field out of bombasting. So 60 million people, they died in the Second World War. So the people after this Second World War, the Allied and the Axis group and other countries of the world, they started thinking for a settlement, rebuild or reconstruction. No more war, no more destruction, no more devastation. So what were the steps they had to take, or what were the steps they took during that time? So it is called the post-war reconstruction. It is known as the post-war reconstruction. Suppose out of any calamity or any man-made disaster, if a huge building, it is collapsed. So once again people, they do start thinking about to rebuild the building so that people can stay here once again. So just like this, after Second World War, the reconstruction, an idea of reconstruction, it arises in the mind of the people, contemporary people. So the first point, the US emerged as the world dominant political and economic power after the war. Guys, you remember, if you remember in my first lecture when I was telling you that after First World War, US had to face an intense economic crisis because US became the debtor. Previously, the US, it was lending money to the other countries. Those who were in need, they borrowed money from US, but they could not repay their debts. That's why US, during that time after First World War, US were empty-handed. It was empty-handed. So the condition of US, economic condition, it was fatal. US had to face an intense economic crisis after First World War, and as consequence, unemployment, violence, crime increased in US because of the unemployment. Small scale industries, those were shut. Already I have discussed all those things. But after Second World War, in between, that means 2 decades already have been passed.